Okay, Erev Tov, everyone. Mitzvah Nun Hey. We'll do two of them today, Bezrat Hashem. Mitzvah Nun Hey, Ladun Beniske Shen Varegel, where it's a mitzvah for Bedin to judge cases involving Shen. Shen is the tooth, and Regel is the foot. There are two types of Avot Nezikin, the primary categories of damage. Kilomar, Misha Izik Lachavero, someone inflicts damage on his friend. Nezek haba mahmat Hashem, with a form of damage that is brought through the tooth of an animal. Or mahmat haregel, or the foot of an animal. Kegon sheichnis behemto bisteh havero. For example, he brought his animal into his fellow's field, ve'achlasham, and the animal ate. He ate damage with his teeth, shen. Or ifsida yonkota be'avrasham beraglea, or it ruined the grain as it passed through the field with its feet. That's regel. Sheyesh alenu lechayvo betashlumin. Bedin is obligated to hold the owner of that animal liable for payment. Min ha'idit shelo, and that the payment comes from the best, the top of of his property. Some people have different qualities of land. There's aidit, there's benonit, and ziborit. So that when your animal damages someone else's property, the compensation has to come from the aidit, from the top. Kol ma shehifsid, anything, all the loss that was inflicted. Shnei Amar, as the pasuk says, Ki yavaer ish sadeo cherem, when a man permits his livestock to come and devour field or vineyard. Upershu zichronai v'racha dehainu shen. The Gemara in Masechet Baba Kama says this is the damages of shen. Uma shekatuv harken v'shilach et be'iro. Even though later on in the same pasuk it says when he sets loose his livestock, Pershu zichronai v'racha dehainu regel, that means regel. V'ne'emar al shenehem, with regarding to both these types of damages, meitav sadeh u'meitav karmo yeshalem. He has to pay the best of his vineyard and the best of his field, which we said is the aidit, the highest quality. Shoresh mitzvot hamishpat yadua. We've already spoken about the purpose of these commandments. Dinea, the laws of this mitzvah are numerous. Kegon, for example, mahem hamekomot shechayvin sham al hashen v'aregel. What are the domains in which one incurs liability to pay for damages of shen and regel? And what are the domains where one is not liable? What is the difference in law between a case where an animal eats something that is meant for consumption, or something that is not fit for consumption? So if an animal decides to chew on a chair, all right, or a leather couch, all right, and it starts and it damages that, the law is different. It has to pay, but different. An animal that only eats because it's under duress, kegon paras she'achlas se'orim. For example, a cow that eats barley, v'chamor she'achal karshinino dagim, or a donkey that eats fish or vetch, v'chazir she'achal basar, or a swine that's a pig that eats meat, v'kelev she'likleket hashemen, or a dog that licks up oil, v'chatul she'achal tmarim, or a cat that eats a date. These are not considered typical foods for these species. They're only doing so because they're hungry. Ve'im nehenet, and what is the law if the animal benefit from the food that it ate? Shemeshalemet ma shenehenet, that the owner has to pay for the value of the benefit that it received. Ve'yeter pratea, and all these laws begitin ubekama can be found in Masechet Gitin and Baba Kama. Ve'hata mamrim perek hachovel, and over there in Baba Kama, the Gemara states, Ki ka'amar Rava ashor beshor govin oto bevavel, in reference to what did Rava say that we collect payment for damage inflicted by an ox upon another ox, even in Bavel. B'shen u'regel, only in reference to shen and regel, demu'adin mitchilatan ninhu, where animals are already considered warned from the outset, meaning an animal is typical for it to eat. So therefore, normally you would, in order for an animal to pay for certain things, or certainly high level, you got to have warning. But no, animals don't need warning when it's going and it sees food in someone else. It doesn't know that this is someone else's property. It sees food, it's going to eat it. So animals automatically considered shen and regel from the start. Tooth, yeah.
So the tooth breaks?
No tooth breaks. It's using the shen to damage, using the tooth to damage, which is to eat other people's produce. Benoeged bezecharim, the mitzvah, we said similar to the other ones, it applies to men. She'alehen la'asot hadin, it's their obligation to judge. Umikol makoma nekevot bichlal din hatashlumin, but like again, similar to the other ones, women are also included in the law of restitution. Ben she'iziku or husku, whether they inflicted damage to their animal, or they were the nizak, or they suffered damage. Ubed din ha'over alea, and the bed din that transgresses this, velo dan din ze kemo shekatuv, bitel aseh, they have violated a mitzvah obligation. Let's do one more. Mitzvah 56. Ladun ulchayev leshalem. Bedin is commanded to judge and assess liability to pay. Misha yizik chavero be'esh. This is the fourth and final type of damage, with someone who inflicts damage with fire. Kegon sheidlik et gedisho, someone who lit his haystack. Or saraf lo shum davar, or he burned anything that belongs to his fellow. Shneimar ki tetzeh esh umatzea gadish. The pasuk says if a fire should go forth. Perush, the meaning is tetzeh. What do you mean ki tetzeh esh? Mashma afilu yatsa me'atzma. Even if the fire went forth and did damage on its own. So it could be that the fire the guy did not actually go and light the haystack, but he had a fire in his property, okay, and he didn't protect that fire, and the fire then spread. So he says here, someone ignites a fire within his property, and the fire spreads and does damage. He's liable to pay. He did not guard the coals properly. Because a man is obligated to guard his fire, so they should not go and do damage. As is the way to spread his own, even though it's not a living entity, fire has that ability. So today, you think about cars. Now we have self-driving cars. Person can easily say, it wasn't me. The car drove, right? That hit somebody and bashed into someone. No, this is like an esh. That car driving is like an esh, and you would have to you're liable and obligated to contain that vehicle. The purpose of the mitzvah, shosha yadua, k'mo she'amarnu, same purpose as the other ones. Dinei, a lot of laws. Kegon, for example, siur harchaka shemarchikin be'era min ha'mesad. What is the distance that a person has to move fire away from the border of a property to make sure that it doesn't spread? Shehu lefi govha shedreka, which varies according to how tall the fire is. Also the law of someone who sends a fire in the hands of someone who is deaf or deranged or a minor, or opikeach in the hands of someone who is competent. Vedina rabim, and the law regarding a group of people that collaborates to cause a fire. Where one person brings the fire, and one guy brings the wood. And another one fans the flames. And the law where one fans a fire and the wind also helps it. What happens if there are vessels inside the stack of grain, or concealed within a large house? Or a camel that is loaded with flax. And the flax that is loaded on the camel catches fire with a lamp that is by the shopkeeper's store. Madino, and what is the law? And of course, as the Mishnah says, O bener Chanukah. What happens if that happens when the candle outside is a Chanukah candle? Does the law change? And it does. And the details of this mitzvah can be found in the 2nd and 6th chapters of Bava Kama. It applies to men, because for them, the judges are incumbent, men or judges. And a bet din that transgresses it, if they do not make restitution according to the law, they have also violated a positive commandment. Okay.